The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Acuma, its board of directors, its management staff, or its members. The podcast discussion presented is conversational in nature and for general information only.
This is Acuma's On Point Podcast. On today's episode, we dive into probably one of the hottest topics facing our industry today, affordability. But before we get to our episode, just a quick word from our sponsor.
Rocket Pro helps credit unions grow their mortgage business at zero cost by delivering a member-focused, fully white-labeled mortgage experience. Rocket Pro integrates seamlessly with your brand, team, and existing channels, strengthening member relationships while driving acquisition and retention. Built specifically for financial institutions, the scalable platform delivers a modern digital lending experience without disrupting core systems, while credit unions retain full ownership of their people, data, and processes. Powered by secure, compliance-first AI, Rocket Pro streamlines workflows, reduces origination costs, and improves efficiency, helping credit unions better serve members today.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome to Acuma's On Point Podcast, a series focused on sharing the stories of people making a positive impact in the credit union mortgage industry. I'm your host, Peter Benjamin. Today, I am joined by Eric Berg, co-founder with Duome. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Peter. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
My pleasure. Excited to have you here. Like I said, affordability, and I know it's really a blanket term I just threw out there, but more specifically, housing affordability, truly, a hot topic, one of the hottest topics facing, not just, the credit union side of the mortgage industry, the entire housing ecosystem as a whole, and I really want to provide, bring you on and to provide a little bit more context on the amazing things that you're doing over at Duome, but also possibly, start focusing on some ideas that you may have to try to solve, that affordability issue. But, we'll get to that in a second. But as always, before we get too much further, I have to pull Justin in. Justin, Hawk, please tell us the latest and greatest happening over at Acuma. Oh, and I keep always forgetting, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
Living the dream, man. Just living the dream.
I love it. Well, here we are. What are we? Almost halfway through the year. I cannot believe that. But we just got back from our last in-person event for the first half of the year. So it's not our last in-person event. So let's not confuse everyone.
Oh, seriously.
We still got one more big one called Make Your Mark, coming up.
Greatest show on
It's
earth.
been fun and it's been busy. I think we've had a lot of great memories from our event so far. Any takeaways from you? What was your favorite?
I really loved, the private rodeo that we had in Dallas. I loved the brewery tour at Anheuser-Busch. Still disappointed they wouldn't let me ride the Clydesdale. I was even wearing my cowboy boots, trying to, look the part. But they wouldn't let me. And, we went to Baltimore and the Maryland boy in me was just thrilled to welcome our members to I'm going to call it my state, but I also know that you live there. I've been to Guinness Open Gate. I don't know, probably up 5 times. This was definitely my 6th time, but this is actually the first time I've ever gone and gotten the tour. It's always sold out. So that was a fun experience for me. What about you?
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, honestly, it's been fun.
Yeah, the rodeo was cool. I haven't been to a rodeo since I was a kid, when I lived in Texas. So, they kind of brought back some old school memories. The smell was not there, so that was nice. It did not smell like a typical rodeo. which everybody was curious about. Like everybody asked me that. They were like, "Didn't it stink?" And I was like, "No, it was actually well ventilated."
So real quick on the smell, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so I've been, that trip more specifically, I went from Dallas. I got home for a day, and then I flew out to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta straight to Tampa, right? And so it's pretty much 2 straight weeks of travel. And so pretty much when I got home, I took all of my clothes and just, I grabbed a new, white shirt. I grabbed a new button-down white shirt. I grabbed a new, button-down blue shirt. But, the jackets and the jeans, and of course, new underwear and all that jazz. But they were all the same, right? When I went from Dallas to Atlanta and Tampa. I put on one outfit when I was in Atlanta, and I was like, what the heck is that smell? And I was like, these are the same jeans I wore to the rodeo. And I immediately took them off. I was like, yeah, they're going straight into the laundry bag. I have to get these things washed. Like I don't.
That's hilarious.
It definitely stuck on me. But anyways,
well,
I didn't wear them.
Yeah, that was fun. I missed St. Louis, so I didn't get to see you try to ride a Clydesdale, but I heard great things. I could see all the great pictures, so it was amazing, I'm sure. And then Baltimore. Anytime we get to go to Baltimore, it's so much fun. I don't know.
Be more Han.
Yeah, well, that's how you guys say it because you're locals, and for me, it's weird. But yeah, so other than that, I'm looking forward to the next half of the year. I think we have a lot in store. So we have our Make Your Mark annual conference coming up in September. That's going to be in Las Vegas this year. Registration is open, so if you haven't seen the emails that have come out on that, or if you haven't gotten registered yet, there's still plenty of time. For our networks, we have our YPN network taking place today. They're having their quarterly meeting at 1:00 Eastern. So Cameron and the other network leads have a great session planned. Next week, we'll have our volume-based quarterly network meeting. That one's happening on May 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So again, there's still time to register for both those. Head over to the Acme website to learn more and to get registered. And then if you're looking for other stuff, our Inside Track webinars, our On Point podcasts, those are dropping a couple times a month. And all that can also be found on our website.
Did you say dropping?
Dropping, I told you it's been a long 5 months.
Man, I'm tired too. Well, anyways, thank you very much. And, as always, crab cakes and football, that's what Maryland does best. But,
Yep. Not football,
anyways,
but crab cakes, yeah.
And lacrosse. I'll say lacrosse. Lacrosse capital of the world. Anyways,
There you go.
Thank you very much, Justin. All right, Eric, pulling you back in. So we're going to talk affordability, but I always start and end with the same 2 questions. And it kind of goes back to the root and heart of this podcast, which is that people piece. We originally set out, Justin, 3 years ago at this point, trying to solve an issue, and that issue was, you can look at all of these different podcasts that focus on housing or mortgage or whatever, and they're great podcasts. And I'm not saying anything negative about these podcasts. I listen to several of them, but they often leave out our side of the industry when it comes to mortgage, and that's the credit union space, right? And I firmly believe that it's people like you, in this credit union space, who are making such amazing differences within their communities and our industry, that we needed a podcast dedicated to highlighting them. And so, that kind of brings me to, the first question. Now that I'm kind of giving you the backstory behind the pod, that people piece, the need to say, hey, credit unions are really out there making a difference, and we have special people doing it. So the first question is really, who is Eric Berg? And really, what drives you? What motivates you? What keeps you going? Especially for those who don't know who you are. I think it's important for us to start there. So, real quick, who is Eric Berg?
Yeah, well, thanks, Peter. My background is rather interesting. I I came out of school, and I've actually have a design degree, right? And so I came out of school and I built my first company, which was a brand development company. And the work that I was involved with that company, I was fortunate enough to be able to work with a number of NFL teams, including here in Minneapolis, the Vikings, which were a largest client of ours, and we handled all their brand development, their marketing, and it was a really fun opportunity to be involved with a product that had so much customer affinity, right? I mean, fans and the affinity side of things which was great. And in the process of developing that brand or continuing to develop that brand, obviously it was a brand that already existed for many years, but a chance to reinvigorate the brand a little bit. I also brought to the table some products that we built from the brand. So products that were generating revenue for the organization on an annual basis, somewhere in the $8, $9, $10 million ARR for the team. Did some of the same things with the Packers and some other organizations as well. And I got to the point, Peter, where I just realized that I was having a blast. I was enjoying my time. Really loved owning a company that was so involved with something so highly visible and highly visible, and so it's such an important part of our culture. But I was also realizing that I was helping people that had billions of dollars make millions of dollars more. And so what I did is I pivoted my company from a brand development company into a venture studio. The goal of the venture studio was to take the same ideas that we had in developing products that were helping fans in this case, or helping the team grow in revenue, and apply that to everyday people. What products could we build that helped everyday people improve their lives? And that was the goal of the venture studio when we first launched it. One of the first products we were involved with it, and I got connected with local credit union here in the Twin Cities, Blaze Credit Union, Spire was their name at the time, reached out to me and asked if we could build a couple of products together. I had been a credit union member my whole adult life, and I thought it was great. Loved what Spire had as part of a brand. And we began to partner on a couple of projects, which eventually led us to building a fintech giving product in the credit union space called NetGiver. We built that product 6 or 7 years ago now. And so really our whole team was drinking the Kool-Aid, the credit union Kool-Aid. And that's how we got to being involved with credit unions on a very personal basis, and one that also drives I guess you could say drives us every day, gets us going every day. The ability to help people, the credit union philosophy of people helping people, aligned with our venture studio and what we were trying to do from the venture studio perspective and creating products that helped everyday people. So the alignment was really great, and we're continuing to partner with Blaze Credit Union and our credit unions here locally as well as around the country on NetGiver, and now on the Duome side of things with housing affordability.
Yeah, it's one. I love that story, and I know that you and I have talked, a few times before this conversation. Not just about this podcast, but really about Duome. And ultimately, I love that your main focus is, when you can't have that think tank, was how do we start making positive impacts in people's lives, right? I mean, in a nutshell, and I love how it really evolved to Duome, and I'm familiar with Duome, and I'm gonna ask that you kind of explain what Duome is. But man, when you talk about trying to make a positive impact in people's lives, there's no greater impact that, and again, this is my personal opinion, but there's no greater impact that you can make on someone's life than helping them buy their first home, or even staying in their current home. And I think that's where, the idea of this conversation and the desire to spread the word about Duome a bit more kind of came from, is that, credit unions are in the community. We have this we were really established, 1935, with the idea of supporting affordable housing, affordable lending within the community, our communities. And here you are truly trying to solve that, 90 plus years later. So do me a favor, walk us through Duome a bit more for those that don't know.
Yeah. So Duome is a platform that brings together a homeowner that's looking to buy a home. And typically those are folks that are making good money. They're in your community. They are contributing, but they're just outside of the ability to afford the home that they actually need. And we've unpacked a number of different folks, and we can talk about those folks later on that are in this category. But the platform is designed to bring those folks together along with a credit union mortgage, and they qualify. They have to qualify for 3/4 of the value of a mortgage, and then Duome comes in, and we provide impact capital to invest in the other portion of the mortgage, whether that's 25% or all the way up to about 45% of the purchase of the home. So that means that the credit union provides a mortgage of, let's say it's 55%, and Duome comes in and invests in the other half of the home, the capital necessary to be able to complete the purchase. We act as kind of that rich aunt that you might think about, like if a young couple is looking to buy a home and they just can't afford the $400,000 house, the rich aunt can come to them and say, "Listen, I'll tell you what, I'll put $200,000 down on the house as my portion of the purchase of the house. You go get a mortgage with your credit union, and over time we will share in the upside. So when you go to sell that $400,000 house for $500,000, we'll split it based on the ownership of this." And so that's Duome in a nutshell.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Duome is a CUSO, right?
Duome is a CUSO. Yep, that's correct.
Duome is a CUSO,
yep.
Right? So now, so the funding for this, is this? Would you consider this more like a grant or down payment assistance? Like what? How is this? How is that Duome portion structured?
Yeah, and it's a great question because there are obviously grants that are out there. There are obviously down payment assistance programs that are out there, and those are all necessary. We'll talk about all of this stuff in this conversation, Peter. I'm sure all the different solutions that are out there. But no, this is actually impact capital. This is impact investment dollars. So think about your community foundations, the nonprofits in your area that are looking to also come in and help solve housing affordability. They have a choice. They can issue a grant to a homeowner, and the homeowner can use that grant. And sometimes those are loans, and sometimes they're modified loans, and sometimes they're no interest loans. Sometimes they're just grants that they give away, and then that don't get paid back. But impact capital is different. Impact investing or program-related investment dollars are designed to have a bit of a return on them. So what we're doing is we're working with these community organizations and allowing them to invest in the fund in these communities, that then those funds are invested together with that homeowner in the home that they purchased, and then provides a return back to that fund and then to our fund impact investors once the house sells or as the revenue generates over time. So it is not a grant, and it's not necessarily a first-time home buyer assistance program. It is simply a co-ownership model that is using impact capital to provide those funds for co-ownership.
Okay, so you have like these other nonprofits, you have these other community development community programs that are coming to Duome, investing in the platform, and let's say Minneapolis. You may have a nonprofit or some community platform within the Minneapolis area. They invest in this Duome fund, and within that Duome fund, people in the Minneapolis area come to you, and you can provide that needed support. Is that kind of sort of what I'm understanding?
Yeah, the platform does exactly that. So a homeowner comes in, finds out about Duome, and takes a look at what they qualify for, because they qualify with a credit union partner mortgage. So let's say that's Blaze. They qualify for 3/4 of the value of the home, and then they can request access to through the platform for Duome to be able to fund the other portion of their purchase. And it's a tenant-in-common relationship. So the fund itself is a tenant-in-common with the homeowner of the home, and the homeowner has full control over their home, and whether they want to paint the house, whether they want to redo the yard, when they want to sell, when they want to refinance. That's all up to the homeowner in the relationship.
Obviously, and the lender in me is just thinking about this. Obviously, the way that investor or that nonprofit gets repaid is at that sale, right? So let's say what most people are keeping their houses 7 years right now. Thank you, 3% interest rates.
Right.
But really after that 7 years, based off of the appreciation, how much that property has grown in value, that nonprofit is kind of repaid in that based off of that, correct?
That's correct. And there is a small participation fee that the homeowner pays each month as a part of that as well. And that's a little bit of the revenue back to the fund too. And that participation fee is tied to the tenant-in-common agreement, which allows the homeowner to have full access to the house and make all the decisions that they want to make within the house. But ultimately, yes, it is the appreciation of the home. It's the investment in the asset itself that helps return the dollars to the fund and to the fund investors.
No, I mean, this is awesome. It really is. Admittedly, some of these, I kind of had a feeling that this is the direction that Duome was going to go. But obviously, it's always important to talk about it. Now, let's kind of go back.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, by all means, dude.
Yeah. So I'm just curious because I think this is a phenomenal product or a phenomenal offering that you have. How many states are you operating in? Like how many, I don't know how specific we want to be about that, but like how many states, how many credit unions do you work with that, people could potentially work with Duome?
Yeah. And that's a great question, Justin. We're a brand new CUSO. And we specifically have chosen to build the CUSO in markets in which credit union partnerships exist with us, right? And that's obviously a very important part. We're not working with other mortgage providers for this. This is a credit union mortgage product. So in each community that we're working with, we're establishing the relationship with the credit union, as well as then those impact investors within that community. So right now we are in the process of launching in areas all across the country. But as you can imagine, this will be a community by community process. So as we look to really grow into what we will eventually be, I would expect that in the next year or so, we will be in probably 4 or 5 different markets around the country, and that'll be the kind of thing that once we make an announcement in a market, we do expect to be able to make quite an impact in those markets that we're in. Right now, obviously, we're working out of the Twin Cities. Our partner, our lead strategic investor, is WSECU and One Washington Financial out in the Olympia, Tacoma, Seattle area, and so we're working with credit unions out in that area, and we've got several other ones that are on track to come on board as well here shortly.
Awesome. No, that's very cool.
So, and good question, Justin. So, obviously, I kind of started this conversation with the idea of, okay, well, let's discuss affordability, right? And I don't know if this affordability crisis, pandemic, however you want to frame it up, is going to get better anytime soon. When you look at the average home price in 2010, it was like less than 200,000. And here we are, 2026, the average home price is what, 450. That's what, well over a 200% increase from 2010 to 2026. And so obviously there's no end in sight to this affordability issue. And obviously, Duome is one way to kind of solve this and help people, get into the house of their dreams. But, when you think of, Eric, when you think about this issue and what credit unions can do, or even the outlook for affordability, I'll let you take this, any direction you want to go. How can we improve this? Again, it's all right now. It just seems like everything that we do is just a Band-Aid, right? But there has to be a way for us to start making positive strides in this affordability issue.
Yeah, I think it's important to look back historically at, what has been the process that we've had to purchase homes in the past, right? I mean, it wasn't until I believe the 1930s or 40s that a mortgage actually started to actually show up on the books, right? Before that, you had to come in and find other ways of financing it. So the mortgage came into play, and at that time, and even as early as the early 1970s or so, the income to housing ratio was 3-to-1, right? I mean, your house basically could cost you $15,000 and you made $5,000 a year, and that was and the 30-year mortgage helped with that piece. Very few people could have walked into the closing and put down a check for $15,000 back in the early 1970s or late 60s to buy that house. And some of those numbers, obviously, I'm making up numbers here a little bit, but ultimately that's part of what we've done with a 30-year mortgage. So fast forward now to where we are. What other tools are needed to be involved with helping people be able to afford a place to live that actually fits their needs? And again, we're not talking about trying to, put somebody into a home that, somebody who makes $100,000 a year is not looking at buying $1 million home, through our program. It really still is within the parameters of how housing should work in terms of the ability to get into something, grow that equity over time, and then be able to take the step into the next life cycle of housing. So it really is just a matter of bringing these tools to the table and allowing folks to be able to use them to achieve their goals, their financial goals, as well as their long-term financial and potentially generational wealth for their family. So it really is the kind of thing where, as we look at it, just another tool in the toolkit. It needs to be a new tool that's involved and partnered with a 30-year mortgage right now. But it really does become the kind of thing where it's just one of those tools.
It's interesting, right? So it's like you kind of sort of mentioned like that the 1930s, right? And not everyone had, it was tough to have that down payment even back then. It's obviously not getting bigger, and you also have to. I often question this to myself. I don't voice it, but if you think about it, in less than 100 years, right? We've gone from being able to basically buy a house in the Sears catalog, right? And you could build it for all intents and purposes anywhere, we'll say on average, $75,000. You could build a Sears catalog house for $75,000, 100 years ago, 1930, we'll say. Here we are. I understand that the average home price in the United States right now is $450,000, but I don't know where that house is in the DC area, in the Maryland area, right? You're really looking at $700,000, $800,000, right? It's, and then when you look at, what, income improvements, right? I mentioned earlier that, home prices from 2010 to 2026 have increased, 250%. Income has only increased, I think, 95% in that same time frame, right? I don't see an end in sight for this ever, right? But as credit unions, I think and this is just me kind of getting on a soapbox, as the credit union person in me is really just saying, we have to do whatever we possibly can to make that blow just a little bit easier for our members, and referring them to a Duome, right? Just a side question. When they have the Duome, when they partner with Duome, is that 100% financing? When it's all said and done, like 100% CLTV, combined loan to value?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we require from the credit union is to write the mortgage as they would if the rich aunt was coming in and putting the money down. So, if they want to, if they're looking at doing that from the perspective of the full value of the home, we really think that it really comes down to the situation that works best for the homeowner in that case. So, our investment in the home as a tenant-in-common is I think separate from the mortgage.
Okay, but if the credit union provides a loan for 70%, Duome could easily do that 30%, correct?
Oh yeah, a Duome will do between 25% and up to 45% of the value of the home. Correct. Yep.
And so kind of going back to what I was saying, like, Duome is really just that tool that we need to have, or that arrow we need to have in our quiver. But along with, down payment assistance programs, or grants, or some type of closing cost assistance, because you said it yourself. I mean, not everyone has that, 60, now really more like $100,000 to put down, right? It's really astronomical. But then you also have closing costs, and closing costs can easily be $20,000, and that's still a lot of money. So, yeah, I don't see an end in sight, but we need to have these options like Duome, like down payment assistance, like grants, like closing cost assistance. We need to have something out there for people. I don't know the answer. I don't. Rates aren't going to get any better. I'm sorry.
I think it's a perfect soup of, we have to bring all these solutions to the table, right? And each individual homeowner is going to, whether they have a down payment assistance grant, or whether that's a special way of configuring a loan, or some credit unions now are doing 0% down, and some are even covering closing costs. It really is all to help homeowners get into the home that best fits their needs, and Duome is just another part of this. And Peter, the biggest issue we have right now in the studies that we've done with housing affordability is that the U.S. is between 4 and 7 million homes short, depending on who you talk to, in the U.S. And the problem is, and the reason why that median home price right now is right at that $420,000 range across the country, is because in most parts of the country, you can't build a home for less than that, right? So if we're going to actually take a supply and demand and reduce the amount of or increase the amount of supply, we need to build homes. And if that's the price to build it at, and of course, there's a number of other factors that are there. But let's just take the construction costs, the cost of materials, those kinds of things right now. If that's the price to build the home, then we need to be able to provide a platform that takes somebody who's living in a $290,000 home that no longer fits their needs, and provide them the ability to move from that home up to the home that just got built, the new home that just got built, so that it frees up the $290,000 home for the next homeowner that is maybe coming out of a rental or coming out of living in an apartment, whatever it might be, so that they can get into that 2-bedroom, 1-car garage home where the family just moved out of, that just outgrew that home. So it is really about taking the lid off of that a little bit as well. The rest of the NIMBY and homeowner association complications and insurance issues are kind of always going to be there. But if we're able to build more homes and provide the ability for homeowners to move to those homes, it will take the pressure off a little bit when it comes to the overall cost of housing. Now, having said that, none of us, either on this call or listening to this call, are going to volunteer to have the value of our house decrease. Right. I mean, nobody wants to sit there and go, well, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll forfeit 25% of the value of my home just for the greater good of everybody else. So that's the other part of the economics here that we have to think about is, we all want to make an investment for the future. It doesn't need to grow, 5x over 20 years like it has in the past, several decades. But let's take a look at how we can do this, and does that slow a little bit, and does that provide more opportunities for people to get into homes that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to get into. And that's really the key for us to not become a nation of renters, and therefore a nation that no longer goes to their credit unions to get a mortgage. Keep in mind, that's the important part of this from the credit union's perspective as well. We want to be able to provide solutions that keep people on the path to homeownership and on the path to that generational wealth that we talked about, earlier.
Question on Duome. You kind of go, and it also ties back to, new construction and building. Would Duome, is Duome okay with like a new construction? So if I want to build my house, right, to kind of, and granted, I know building a house, is for all intents and purposes, 30% more expensive than buying an existing. But if inventory is the issue, is part of the issue, if I wanted to build my house and I did it in an affordable way, would Duome back that construction loan?
Yes. I mean, well, it'll back the mortgage for that, right? I mean, right. I think the construction loan would be a little bit different, but I think when it comes to providing the financing or providing the co-investment in the home, absolutely. I mean, that's part of what we look at as being something that will help solve this problem. And keeping in mind, of course, Peter, the other part of this is not, it's not to help somebody who doesn't need the help to get into that home. It's really that family that maybe is living in that $290,000 house, and they've got the ability to go buy a brand new build at $414,000. They qualify for, $330,000, but they can't qualify for the $419,000 that the new home builder has that house listed at. So it really becomes, okay, now they come to their credit union, they qualify for that $330,000, and Duome comes in and participates with them and co-owns that home with them in that new neighborhood or that new construction.
Okay, awesome. Eric, here's the tough part about this podcast. We aim for a certain time frame, and we are most certainly pushing that. Actually, we're a little bit over. So I hate to have to transition to the second segment, but I'm gonna make us do that. But before I do, I promise that second question that I always ask, and it really connects back to the first one. But the second question always is, what keeps you going? What keeps driving you every single day?
Yeah, well, for me, it is the ability to help people achieve their dreams in a way that, when we bit off housing affordability, it's a big bite. Look, we're not doing this on our own. This is why credit unions exist. This is why the cooperative model exists. This is why CUSOs exist. We need to do this together. But that teamwork, that cooperation, that ability to work together to solve this problem, as big of a problem as it is, that challenge is what keeps me going. And the challenge of being able to do that and work with the wonderful people in the credit union space that are bringing ideas to the table every day that can help strengthen and fortify, the seed of the idea that we had, and really grow this into something substantial and that can help folks is the reason why I keep going. And credit unions have been such a great partner in the things we've done in the past. We just foresee that happening or continuing to happen with Duome and housing affordability as we really get this project rolling across the country.
Okay, love that. Absolutely love that. Well, Eric, thank you very much. As I mentioned, it's time to start transition to the second segment of the podcast. Now, this is when we sometimes do, dad jokes, Sometimes we play a little game of Jeopardy, but today we're going to do wrong answers only. So bear with me while I pull share with you my screen. What we're going to do is wrong answer only. So this is going to be real quick. So Eric, you're going to go. Justin, you're going to go. And the goal is to answer as many questions as you possibly can as quick as possible. Okay? Quick. So I'm going to throw out a term or a question. And all I want you to do is just provide me with the wrong answers only. You have 1 minute to answer as many as you possibly can. Sound good?
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right, Eric, you're first.
Let's do this.
All right. So,
oh boy. Okay.
1 minute. I'll read. You just answer. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Are you male?
I'm a bird.
Are you playing a quiz?
Absolutely not.
What is a daffodil a type of?
A whale.
What is the capital of Scotland?
The moon.
Who is the other half of the duo Bonnie and
Michael Jackson.
what color is Pink Panther?
Orange.
How many sides does a triangle have?
My math teacher would be so proud of me. 16.
Name something that flies.
Justin.
What color is a snowman?
All the colors of the rainbow.
How many letters? All right. So you scored 9. Good job. All right, Justin, you're up.
All right. I'm going to have, that was a hard one to beat. He did really well.
All right, Justin, you're up. Here we go.
All right.
Complete the film title, Free.
Chicken.
What language is spoken mostly in Spain?
Mandarin.
What shape is a Rubik's Cube?
Ooh, a circle.
Which animal does foie gras come from?
A jackalope.
Jackalope? Which units do you measure height in?
Square meters.
That's actually okay.
I've never measured a height square meter.
How many D's are in the word fiddle?
17.
What color is a cow?
Blue.
What's the opposite of no?
I don't know.
What color's an orange juice?
Red.
What type of animal is Bambi?
Can I say jackalope again?
All right, so it time expired, but you also scored 9. Good job. Well, Eric, that brings us to the end of this round of wrong answers only. Thank you very much for humoring us and playing along. But more importantly, thank you for sitting down with us today and really sharing your thoughts on affordability. But I know I said this to you before. I truly enjoy watching what Duome is doing and learning more about it every single time. So thank you for that as well.
No, I appreciate your time, Peter. Thank you so much. Justin, great to meet you. This was fun. Love learning and love just sharing what we're doing. So the more conversations we can have, the better off I think everybody is when it comes to addressing housing affordability.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
And Justin, thank you very much.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
And to close out, thank you again to Rocket Pro for sponsoring today's episode. And to all of you, we know your time is valuable. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Acuma's On Point podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, be well, my friends.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time at the Acuma On Point podcast. If not already, be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. For more great episodes and information, visit us online at acuma.org. And to get the latest updates, head over to our LinkedIn page.